Seattle served as a diverse hub for numerous musicians aspiring for success. Among them was Mia Zapata, an ambitious artist who relocated from Louisville during the 1980s. Her goal was to establish a life centered around her greatest passion, music. Remarkably, Mia had already become a proficient guitarist and pianist by the age of 9. Her musical journey continued through college, where she formed the punk rock group named the Gits. The band consisted of Mia as the lead vocalist and 3 friends she met during her undergraduate years. In 1989, Mia and her band relocated from Ohio to Seattle, settling in a rundown place they named the Rat House. While in Seattle, they formed connections with other popular bands in the region, gradually building a fan base within the punk grunge community. Their first album was launched in 1991, and from then on, everything seemed to align perfectly for the gifted musicians. Each passing day saw the Gits' success and popularity grow even further. In 1993, the band achieved another significant milestone by releasing their second album. Unfortunately, it would also be their last, as tragedy struck on July 7, 1993. Earlier that evening, Mia went out with some friends to a popular bar called the Comet Tavern. Although her professional life was on the rise, her personal life wasn't going well due to a difficult breakup with her boyfriend. To cope with her emotions, Mia heavily relied on alcohol and her music. Around midnight, Mia left the Comet Tavern and went to her friend's apartment to continue drinking. At approximately 2 a.m., her friend urged her to stay the night, but Mia decided to go home. She planned to take a cab during the late hours, although she didn't end up doing so. This decision perhaps could have altered the trajectory of her life. Around 3:30 in the morning, Mia's lifeless body was discovered on an empty street, positioned in a Christ-like pose. She had been assaulted and raped, with the cause of death determined to be homicide by strangulation. Unfortunately, the police had limited evidence to identify the perpetrator. They had the murderer's saliva, which didn't match any records in the criminal database. Mia's band members were determined to assist the police in apprehending the ruthless killer. Their initial step was to form a self-defense group named Home Alive. The organization offered various courses, and also organized benefit shows featuring some of the nation's top talent. Their main goal was to raise sufficient funds to support efforts in capturing Mia's killer. The band raised sufficient funds through the Home Alive startup and benefit shows, allowing them to hire a private detective named Lee Heron. Lee worked closely with the police, dedicating 3 years to tracking down Mia's brutal killer. Even after running out of money, Lee persisted in her investigation. But unfortunately, she was still unable to solve the case. In 2001, the investigators entered the DNA information into a nationwide criminal database. A year later, when Mesquia was apprehended in Florida for burglary and domestic abuse, it brought a glimmer of closure to this sorrowful tale. Finally, Mia's killer was apprehended by the Seattle police. In January 2003, Mesquia was initially given a 36-year prison sentence. However, his conviction was overturned in 2005 due to a legal loophole. Fortunately, Mesquia chose not to have a jury trial and stood before the original judge in the case. This time, the judge successfully sentenced him to 36 years for the brutal rape and murder of Mia.